This is going to be a bit of a ramble about politics. I'm tired of the trickle of information. I mean, I've gotten to the point I just don't care anymore. I don't care about the Epstein files. I don't think I really ever did care, but what? You're going to find out that Trump's a pedophile? Yeah, well, you're not going to do anything about it. You're just not. No one's going to do anything about it. You think you're going to get him impeached? That's not going to be the reason. I mean, there's all sorts of real reasons to impeach him, but you know, his sexual proclivities isn't one of them. I didn't agree with Clinton getting impeached for that reason either, so I'm going to call myself consistent at least. So here we go. Why the hell is everything this little tiny trickle of information? Why do we get like these emails today now? I don't think there's any conspiracy or anything like that, but it's like everybody who has this kind of information of any sort, they want their 15 minutes of glory, right? Their Andy Warhol moment where they can express their little bit of information and everybody gloms onto it for a little bit. They get to be in the spotlight for it, and that's the reason why it's this trickle. It's not really a conspiracy theory. It's just if you had this information, you're not going to release it until it benefits you the most. You know, that's what's happening, or at least you think that's when it benefits you. So none of this is going to hurt Trump. I just spent 4 months with my sister, who is a Trump supporter. She was, yeah, that's all I'll say about her for now. I don't have any issues with her. We didn't have any. It was a pleasant visit, and she believes in quite a few of the conspiracies that you've heard of, that I've heard of, and she talked to me about them at some length. I typically said nothing. There was like a few moments that I said, that's not true. But it was like far, I think I said that like 3 times to 3 different things. One of them, as an example, is the kitty litter in the classroom. There really was kitty litter in a classroom in Virginia, but it's because the teacher or the school or whatever, I don't know who it was trying to have supplies for if there was a shooting and they had lockdown. So these young kids had someplace to go to the bathroom in the case of in case of a school shooting. And I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but that's what the kitty litter thing was about. Anyway, I tried to say that to her because she hates furries, hates them. I don't know why. I mean, but that's like part of it. But it's like all of these things, it's very easy to dismiss everything when you believe that the media is completely wrong about everything. Now, I believe the media is certainly not telling us the full truth, and I'm sort of expressing that by saying, I don't know why these things come out with dribs and drabs, you know. I think that a lot of people know the truth, and they just don't talk about it because they don't want to be singled out, because they don't want to have the ire of the president. Obviously that. And then we have the freaking Democrats backing down. That's nonsense on their part. You know, they all think, everybody thinks they can beat the system. They can get ahead of it. They can, you know, the Democrats, they're obviously think they can go about business as usual. They can act like it's politics as usual. They don't realize that they don't realize what they're up against. I just spent 4 months with someone who I love, who's my sister, but she believes a lot of things that I think are absolute nonsense. I also think a man walking on water is nonsense too. So I think there's perspective here. But you know, you believe a man can walk on water, then why not believe there's a tunnel, a train going from coast to coast, secret train that's like a bullet train underground that can get from coast to coast in 45 minutes. Why not believe that? You know, is that wrong information? Yeah, I think it's obviously wrong, because there was no such project, because we would have heard about it, because that would be a massive project. I have like a dozen reasons why it's not true. So anyway, here we are, and we have these politicians pretending like they can go about it business as usual, but it isn't business as usual. We've got 30% of the country that are like my sister. 30% of them who think everything is subversive, that there are bad actors, and that they're really trying to do evil, and that Jesus Christ is going to rise. 30%, okay? And we have politicians thinking that, oh, you know, if only, you know, we just hang out and we just make the Republicans look bad. Kind of worked a little bit, but not with those people. I mean, the Democrats did have some pretty good wins in this last election. But come midterms, we're back to the 30% people. You're not going to win them over. You can't get them to. I'm not going to be able to get my sister to come to any kind of rationality about her conspiracy theories. She doesn't think that they're all that crazy. But again, she thinks that a man can heal you with his hand. And she has, you know, she's got all these websites about different drugs and what they do, that's where it started with her, right? It started with medicine, her not believing modern medicine, and her believing there's all these different cures for things, and COVID didn't help, you know. My father too. I mean, now he's got dementia, but my father did the same thing. And my father and sister, they were like in cohorts together, and they would find these different pieces of information. And so they're deep in it. And I had relatives years ago that were Scientologists, and they eventually got out of Scientology, but it was because Scientology kicked them out, because they were, you know, they did something that Scientology, the org, didn't like. And so it wasn't until Scientology, you know, threw them up against the wall did they realize, oh, this stuff's a bunch of hogwash. And it took that. And so I think, unfortunately, that's the same thing that's going to happen with my sister, 30%. You know, it's a freaking numbers game. Getting in front of this truck. So I don't know where we go from here. I don't know what we win or how we win. I don't think the Democrats really understand what the problem is. I think they can go business as usual. I think that they think they can go to the middle, and if they go to the middle, they'll gain more traction, and I think they're full of shit. No. I think what they have to do is show the world where the Republican Party is. I think they have to let the Republican Party burn themselves down. And they will. But unfortunately, my opinion's got to get worse before it gets better. Anyway. I don't know. Dribs and drabs. There's something to that. Some reason why we don't get everything. And mark my words, there's not going to be any Epstein files case or anything like that. It's all just going to be dragged on and dragged on. Politicians don't win elections by doing things, they win elections by promising things.